I've learned to cope with it. I've run a successful business as a marriage and sex therapist for 14 years, and I did not know that I had ADHD until my daughter got ADHD. So let me tell you the story. When I was a new mom, I had a baby, and at 6 months, she stopped napping. She just stayed up all night and kept staying up. And it was interesting. So the daycare people would ask us, like, hey, does she nap for you? And we would be like, no, does she nap for you? It'd be great. And, no, she just stopped napping. So that was the first clue. You know, I had ADHD, hyperactive, right? And she just had so much energy. Like, there's the kids, and then there was Olivia. And Olivia was here. She was there. She was running. She was going. And I was, like, overwhelmed by it. So at around 5 or 6, I took her to the UMSL Community Psychology program and got a full assessment done. And they're like, oh, yeah, your kid's got ADHD with hyperactivity, and she's got dyslexia. And so I found out that, and I started to learn. I dug deep into ADHD. I learned a little bit about it. I learned about all of the different things that come with it, like, you know, like struggling to do things that are boring. Like, unless it's exciting or engaging, you know, you're like, oh, I have to do this. So here's another example. Now I'll tell you a little bit about, like, in my business, some of the things that ADHD has impacted me with. That after watching her, I started to learn, oh, I might have this too. So it took some time. But one of the things in my business recently that happened, actually, so I am now today officially an ASEC certified supervisor. And there was this big application to fill out to become the supervisor. And I actually finished all of my requirements probably 6 months ago. But I would be like, oh yeah, and I'd tell everybody, yeah, I'm close to it. There's nothing I need to do. I just need to fill out this application. And my supervisee, or my supervisor at the time, that's how we become supervisees, was like, so Angela, have you filled out the application yet? And she's like, you're done. Have you filled it out? I'm like, yeah, of course. Eventually I'll get to it. I just haven't. I mean, it's just like, it's hard. I'll get there, but I'm not there yet. And I just kept like putting it off. And putting it off and putting it off. And the reality is, one of the ADHD traits is anything that's boring, anything that's a really long task, anything that just takes so long and takes a lot of effort and mental energy for me, I put it off. I procrastinate. I avoid. And basically, it took me 6 months to fill out the application until, until finally I had to like force myself to fill out the application, and then I finally did it. So these are some of the things with ADHD that I struggle with as a part of business. And so I want to teach you a little bit about some of the things that people with ADHD have. One is it's hard for us to do boring things. We're consistently inconsistent. 3, we have big consequences. And I want to talk to you a little bit about your chip on your shoulder that you might have because of big consequences. 3, we do sometimes have a lack of awareness in space and time. We do. And 4, we have low dopamine, and we struggle with staying on top of, being present with that. And then 5, there's the other thing that we have is struggle with time, like an awareness of like time passing. There's something called time blindness. So anyhow, going back to business, these are some of the things that hit me with ADHD in business that I have to deal with every day. So what's cool is, as a therapist, one of the pros of having ADHD is if I get just little stress, not a lot. So there's a level of stress that works really well for me. And if I stay in that low level of stress, that actually is motivating for my low dopamine. But if I am too stressed, then that overwhelms me. So there's like a green zone of stress to keep me motivated. So as a therapist, if as long as I, as I keep clients and I keep things going like this and that and keep a variety of topics and engaging activities, then that is great for my low dopamine because I'm like, I'm doing this. But also as a therapist, having the problematic stress and people sad or really hurt can also like weigh me down. And so I have to pay close attention to, all right, how much stress is the right amount of stress for me to do this job? And then other things I've learned is that I do better if I have people with me, right? So if I try to do it all myself, then I will get overwhelmed and I probably won't do all of the things I need to do in business. But if I collaborate with people like other business professionals, if I collaborate with people in finance and people with different jobs where they like what they're doing and I can just be the personality or the person coming to the retreat or, basically the teacher, then I do better. But I have learned over time, the more I've done this business, that if I try to do it all, or if I try to do an event, for example, all by myself, then I'll do some of it, I'll do some of it well, but I will miss out on some things too because I'll be bored or annoyed with the job. And so that's part of what needs to happen for you to get like a little bit better about ADHD and your hacks is you learn what are the things that like get me excited, get my dopamine pumping. That's where I need to be in my business. But the things that I hate, I need to find ways to delegate. I need to find ways to streamline or have basically, it helps to have different apps and programs that do the stuff that I hate to do. Because if I'm responsible for it, then there's little details that will drop off that I won't take care of. And that's another thing. So like in my business, I've had huge consequences for not paying attention to details, which is another reason it's so important for us to work with other people. Example, in 2020, I had this experience where everybody was going and getting those, there's like PPP loans or the loans that were supposed to help you out. But I didn't get the right one. I got a different one that you did have to pay back. And that ended up being a very expensive mistake. And so people with ADHD really struggle with this because we have like really great big ideas, but we struggle with the little details. And so those little details really can come back and bite us in the ass. And in that situation, I really got a big bite for having not prepared the paperwork correctly or not filled out the right loan application. And so these are, I know it sounds silly, but like these are the things that with ADHD people struggle with. In fact, on a pretty regular basis, the people that I work with who have ADHD have 3 internalized messages that they use to like abuse themselves. One internalized message is, you don't care. And this is so not true. If you have ADHD, you absolutely do care. But we get told that we don't care when we procrastinate the way I was talking about earlier, right? Like with the application. Every time you care about something but you don't follow through with the boring work, it's not that we don't care. It's that it is a heavy emotional workload to get through some of those tedious, boring tasks in order to get to the point of being able to do the things that we care about. And so sometimes people look at us and they think, you don't care. Here's an example in my personal life where that showed up. So I was talking to my husband, Shane, and he was trying to tell me something that was important. And he said something that if I didn't either write it down right away or do something about it right away, that I would forget what he would say. Because that's another thing. We forget things very quickly with the ADHD, like all the time. And so while he was talking to me, my eyes started to, it's like, oh, like I need to write this stuff down right away. And he goes, are you even listening to me anymore? So his message from me in that moment was, she doesn't care. But that's not the case. I absolutely do care. What was happening is I had to decide, how can I care in this moment? Do I, one, look at him, show him I am being attentive and I care about what he's saying, but then forget this very important thing that I said I was going to do to follow through with? Or do I, 2, quickly write down or do the thing that he asked me to do and then not look like I'm listening? And these are the kinds of interactions that happen in business too. There will be ways that I am trying to, like even in session, I actually keep notepads on every file. These are my little notepads. I write them down so that I can look like I'm listening to my clients, but I can also write these things down and let people know that like, hey, this is what I'm doing to keep up with you and listen to you. And in that moment, one of the things that I did with my partner is I just said, hey, this is what I'm doing. Please either let me grab a piece of paper so I can write down what you're saying, or I'll listen, but I really will forget and not be able to follow through. And it's these little details, it's these little like brain works that make people think that we don't care, but we absolutely care. It's just hard work to choose like that. A second internalized message that we receive with ADHD is that we're lazy. You're lazy. I've seen it in all of my clients that have ADHD, the sense of we're lazy. And we're not. We're hard workers. But it is easier work to do when it's fun. It gets us excited. We're doing this thing. There's times like, for example, I remember back in history when I was a kid doing all this homework and then forgetting to turn it in. And it wasn't because, I actually did the work. I wasn't lazy. Like, I done it, and just that little forgetfulness. People are like, what are you doing? Why did that happen? And so these are all the little ADHD quirks that get in our way as we're trying to get to that next level. So, going back to things you can do for yourself, like finding people who can help you with those minor details, finding little motivators to get you moving are really important. And then a final message that I realize keeps getting put into the internal monologue is you're stupid. A lot of people with ADHD feel like they're stupid because they don't get it, or they don't understand it, or they're not on the same page. So examples of times when I've looked stupid. This goes back to that point of sometimes we just lack awareness of space and time. So this is back in my old business. We had a shared meeting space, and where we did our notes was in this main area. We all did our notes in that main area, and so I was going to print my notes, and there was a meeting happening, and I didn't even think to I was so zero-minded of I gotta get my notes, I gotta get them printed, and so I walk in, and they all look at me like it was private, like I wasn't supposed to be there. I didn't even think about it. I was just zero-minded. I'm here to finish notes and print them. And I remember my supervisor at the time was like, Angela, you need to pay attention to yourself and space and time. And so again, these are moments like that are times where people internalize this idea that I guess I'm stupid, I guess I'm dumb. And you're not. It's a lack of awareness in space and time. So here are some of the things that have helped me in my business with these things. One is I slow down and I pay closer attention in different interactions. Two, I already told you one, I have my papers and I write stuff down, or I do it right away as soon as I think about it. Three, I collaborate. I don't make it all my job anymore. What I want to do is collaborate with people who love the things that I don't care about. And I want to be able to do the things that I love. And so in collaboration with different people, I find people to do projects and work together where they can do the part that's like the math, or they can do the part that's like those individual details of an event that I just don't care about and I won't care about. That's not going to change. And really what I try to do when I set myself in business is set myself up in a way that allows me to do more of what I love and less of what I hate. One way I actually do that is I write out this paper about once every 3 months of things I love, things I hate, and right in the middle, neutrals. And the things I love, I try to spend more of my time doing those things. The things that I hate, I look at what are ways for me to streamline these, delegate them, outsource them, or collaborate with somebody for those things that I hate. And the more I keep doing that, the more I hone and shape my business to represent me and the things that I love, and to not incorporate the things that I hate. So this has just been a sneak peek into me as a business owner. I am Angela Skircher. You can visit me at therapistinstlouis.com. Please subscribe, submit comments below. Share this with anyone you think who could help. This could help because I do want to help people. And thank you for joining me. If you're interested in my event, I have an event. It's called Dinner with a Sex Therapist. It's here in St. Louis, Missouri. Please go to the website eventbrite.com and look up Dinner with a Sex Therapist with me, Angela Skircher. Thank you so much.